Greetings, my name is Timothy. I am a person of sorts, a speaker of sorts, and a people helper of sorts. In these videos we talk about the nature of the times, and today is Wednesday, November 21st, 2018. Now, there is a lot to talk about. There is so much going on. There's so much to process these weeks. I've really got to stick to my outline here. That way I can hit all the major points, and hopefully this video can be somewhat short and concise. I have been having a lot of problems with my video camera not recording, getting corrupted, shutting off, so I've really got my fingers crossed. This is Mercury retrograde. And I do need to apologize because I was hoping to get this video out a little bit earlier. However, I have been pretty sick, pretty much since the last time you heard me, the last video I put out. So we have to begin with a little bit of catching up. Last Friday, November 16th, powerful day in the heavens. Mercury stations retrograde at 13 degrees of Sagittarius on the same day. Venus stations direct at 25 degrees Libra. So Venus has been retrograde since the beginning of October. There's been a lot of deepening of connection in relationships. We're working out the issues, the loose ends, the dramas, the unconscious dynamics that are preventing us from functioning within relationships as the individuals that we are ourselves. And so this Venus retrograde is about a total transformation of how we are connecting and sharing with others. Now, Venus is at the same degree. She hasn't moved forward yet. This theme is continuing through these next several weeks as well. And the beautiful thing about Venus stationing direct in Libra is there is this theme of resolution, of finding the harmonious, mutually fair and equal and balanced creative solutions. That way we can function within relationships in a way that is just, in a way that is balanced, and we can connect with others of similar values who are supporting us in being the individuals that we are ourselves. So there's really this coming into the heart of what it is that we truly want to share, what it is that we truly want to put out there. That's what we're really submerging into. That's what we have the opportunity to now begin to open up and put out there, as well as test driving these new ways of doing relationships. So it's not just who we're connecting with, it's how we're connecting and sharing with others. And one of the big themes of this Venus station period is the challenge and the opportunity to balance our intimate association with others, our going out, our putting out, our relating with our own unique desires, with our own need for space, our own need for freedom, and the independence to actualize our own unique desires. So Venus stationed opposite to Uranus is still opposite to Uranus, and not only that, she has been square to asteroid Vesta. She's remaining square to Vesta these next several weeks. I believe this exact square will be coming up Wednesday, December 5th. So this really dials up this theme of the need to balance Vesta, our own self-autonomy. Vesta is also work, what it is that we're needing to focus on out there in the world, our social contributions, our physical security, and the space and time needed to get the job done. And on the flip side, Venus and Libra, our desire to share, our desire to connect with like minds, our desire for family and community and connection. And so there can be flip-flopping back and forth, the time I need for myself, the time we're working as a group in order to tie up these loose ends. And the opportunity, again, is this nice resolution, this balance, this harmony. And this is just coming together. This is an experiment. Test drive it. See what's working. See what isn't. Be sure to communicate openly. And again, there can be this very empowering opportunity to find alignment with both what is very satisfying and exciting to ourselves as individuals that we can put out there and share with others in the world. Now, this Uranus-Venus opposition that's been going on this last couple weeks, will go on this next couple weeks, also deals with this theme. Uranus square the nodes in Aries. It is about liberation of the individual. This is a highly revolutionary period on Earth where we may have been suppressed or oppressed or shoved under by societal expectations. Now is the time for us to break down those barriers. Now is the time for us to push on the boundaries, discover new ways of doing things, reinvent the game. So this Uranus square the nodes is really looking at these past traditions, these expectations, these obligations that may have been set upon us in the past. Who we're supposed to be. The South Node in Capricorn is really going to bring up these themes the next 18 months. For example, it's like, hey, you're a father. This is what a father looks like. This is what your dad did, Or you're a worker bee. This is the way to do the work. This is the way society expects you to do it, so on and so forth. We're really looking at our individuality, who we are as unique beings that cannot fit the cookie cutter, that is not necessarily made to fit other people's prescriptions of what you should do, how you're supposed to appear. So that's where this liberation, this deconditioning, and the breaking free of the unique, sovereign individual is taking place. Simultaneously, on the flip side, Venus stationing in Libra are the new relationships that can be forming, or the new dynamics of how we're doing relationships that is encouraging and granting this liberation of the individual. As this is happening, there can be a new sense of what family means, a new sense of what connection looks like. A redefinition of gender stereotypes or stigmas. Hey, I'm a father, but I'm going to do more of the, unconventional fathering. I'm going to do more of what might be considered mothering in the past. And, mom's going out there and is being free and empowered and liberated by, getting involved in a work that she's excited to do and sharing her ideas with the world. This is just a very simple example of this simultaneous liberation and finding of new groups, new family, new social circles, new friends and connections that can be supportive and embracing and inviting us to share ourselves, inviting us to be the people that we actually are without having to hide. That's the work that's going on. That's where there can be some challenges, some revising, some trial and error, but there is this opportunity to reinvent ourselves, to rewrite the game, so that way we can be powerful, protected, capable individuals who are also connecting and sharing with others in a way that is collaborative, inviting, welcoming, warm, and community-oriented simultaneously. Okay, so that work and autonomy versus relationship and connection, Venus square Vesta opposite Uranus theme is going to continue now through mid-December. Now, asteroid Vesta herself is on the Moon South Node in Capricorn, the final degrees of Capricorn. Vesta is this asteroid of focus and work and duty, obligation, devotion, dedication. Well, the good news is we can really be empowered in this way. We can focus on the work that needs to be done. We can be devoted. We can be dedicated. We can provide that, giving ourselves either to a job or a duty or a relationship or a goal with persistence. But at the same time, we need to be careful really not to overdo it at this time, not to overly sell ourselves to a duty, an obligation, or a role in a way that becomes oppressive or detrimental, or it's like too much work, not enough rest time. That's a big theme with this nodal polarity in Cancer and Capricorn. I mean, even this experience of getting sick, which can be quite common right now, I think, and we'll come back to, is really a Cancer-Capricorn polarity theme, because it's like, for example, myself, I've had to do this, astrology course and readings, and family is visiting at the same time. It's such a Cancer-Capricorn theme, wanting to connect, all these obligations, and being sick, needing to rest, needing to slow down. Also, with these retrogrades stationing direct and the nodes just shifting, there is a tremendous amount of processing going on these weeks in our body through emotions. I'm going to be talking about emotional processing and releasing through the next year to come, but we are just initiating how to release emotions, how to grieve, how to mourn, how to transform these feelings, how to rest, how to be static and unmoving enough for this inner reflection and processing to take place. And oftentimes when we get sick, it can even be a funny way of our bodies helping us to do this. Hey, you have to slow down. Hey, you have to rest. You need to process all of the many layers of things happening at once. And so it is important to take care of ourselves first, not to overcompensate, oversell ourselves, or over-sacrifice. This Vesta on the South Node in Capricorn can also bring up themes of societal expectation or oppression. Hey, I have to fit this standard. I have to fit this bill. Vesta, the High Priestess asteroid, can also deal with sexuality. So it's like, hey, I have to sexually fit this cookie cutter, or I was given this religious prescription of how to handle my sexuality, how to be in a family, how to do relationships. These are dynamics that we are looking at and may need to change. Vesta is going to move into Aquarius December 1st and remain in Aquarius all of December and all of January in 2019. Well, this is this breaking free and this need for independence, this need for freedom in order to focus, in order to be self-autonomous, in order to be empowered. We have to sometimes go against the grain of expectation. And so this rebellious pushing on boundaries and redefining the rules theme is very much going to continue now through the beginning of 2019. Now we're still playing a bit of catch-up, but again, these themes are continuing through these next couple weeks as well. Particularly this Mercury retrograde is really initiating some of the themes that's going to carry us through December. So Mercury stationed on the 16th at 13 degrees Sagittarius, exactly square to Neptune. I mean, Mercury retrograde gets these stereotypes of what we plan not exactly going the way that we want to. There is a need with Mercury retrograde to be flexible. And it takes a negative stereotype. Oh, I can't plan, I can't use technology, I'm not going to communicate or travel anywhere for several months. That's impossible. Mercury retrograde is about going with the flow, so to discover new ways of conceptualizing, perceiving, doing things, or using technology or communication. The key with Mercury retrograde is never to force a square peg through a round hole. That being said, this Mercury station beginning in Sag square to Neptune has this theme of dissolving. I mean, we really have to be flexible. We really have to let go. All of these technology problems I funnily, ironically had while I'm doing a video on Gemini for this astrology course. And the first video corrupted, the second time the video turned off. Oh my goodness, it can be frustrating, but there's this need for space and flexibility. And if we can grant ourselves that space and flexibility and somewhat expect things to not necessarily go right the first time, or for our travel plans to work out exactly the way we expected or envisioned it, it can allow new things or better ways to come into the picture. And the third time I did the video, it was similar but very different than the first time I did, and there's probably good things coming about. So there's this need for flexibility. On a much deeper level, this Mercury retrograde period is beginning to really open up fundamentally new realities, new ways of understanding and perceiving life itself. This is really a philosophical adventure. This is an exploration that is just beginning. What is your truth? What is your orientation to life? What is your religion or your philosophy? What are you going to be teaching? How are you going to teach it? How are you going to share it with others? Where do you plan to take your adventure of life into the future? Where are you going to explore? Where are your travels going to be taking you this next year? It is all open-ended. The key here is to see it as an adventure or an exploration, because there can be new discoveries, realizations, new teachers, new teachings coming in that can turn everything on its head, that can introduce new dimensions of being or new realities. So we need to let go in order to see what new perspectives are coming in, and much of this can be happening through self-reflection. I encourage us to go in and do this inner exploration of our own inner psyche, where the adventure of life has taken us in the past, where our own journey of exploration and our own truth of philosophy has led us on this journey of growth and expansion. Sagittarius is all about growth and expansion. Jupiter is in his own sign of Sagittarius through this next year until the end of 2019. Mercury is therefore going to pass Jupiter twice, making a retrograde pass Tuesday, November 27th. We'll come back to this day as a powerful day of realization and breakthrough and self-reflection and coming in. And then Mercury will make a second direct pass to Jupiter this winter solstice in the northern hemisphere, that is, December 21st. So this is a powerful Mercury retrograde. I mean, this is really this initiation of a new journey, where we're going to take things. And in this regard, it can be a very idealistic time. For example, Mars is in Pisces from November 15th until December 31st. Okay, this next month and several weeks. And when Mars is in Pisces, how we're using our energy, where we're directing ourselves can be more so idealistic. There's this capability to align the individual with the bigger picture. But how this is happening needs this flexibility, this openness of, yeah, we're going to just explore. We're just going to figure it out. We're just going to see what happens. Because the major key with these dynamics is to not force anything. If we get too excited, if we get too, lit up and excited about, oh, I'm going to follow this vision, I'm going to manifest this idea, Mars in Pisces can be like, I'm going to positively manifest the future. And where there is an opportunity for that with Mars in Pisces, which is really about aligning our action, our energy, what we're doing with our ideas. That's the challenge, that's the opportunity. It does require action. We can't just envision something and then it happens. We can't just expect things to just fill in the blanks for us, right? There really is this need to work out the details, again, to slow down, be flexible. We're going to see the sun in Sag coming up to Mars at the beginning of December. That Mars is going to square Jupiter, has been square Jupiter this last week. So really there's this ambition, there's this excitement to push forward, and there is this journey that is beginning, but allow it to start inside, allow for that truth, your own heart, that sense of excitement, that sense of expansion and spaciousness. Allow those feelings to lead you into this new adventure, and the details of what it may look like or how exactly it's going to be taught or shared can be a continued part of this exploration from this point moving forward. So this Jupiter in Sagittarius, it really is a gift in many respects through this next year of 2019, because both Jupiter and Sagittarius has this sense and this feeling of openness, expansion, adventure. It is the tumbleweed blowing across the continent. It is the traveler exploring every country. It is the inner child sense that life is an adventure, and when we grow up we can be anything, we can do anything. That's some of this momentum that's like the wind filling the boat's sails, propelling us forward. Sagittarius and Jupiter. And so tomorrow, November 22nd, the Sun enters the sign of Sagittarius and will conjoin Jupiter on Tuesday, November 27th. So Sun enters Sagittarius tomorrow, and then the following day, there is a full moon in Gemini at the first degrees of Gemini. So Sun just pulls into Sagittarius as the moon swings around and just enters Gemini during this full moon. Well, this 0 degrees Gemini full moon, Sun at Jupiter at the first degrees of Sagittarius, has the similar theme of newness and freshness and new adventures and new realities and new possibilities. There's this youthful sense of beginning a learning journey, beginning an exploration. Let me read the Sabian symbol for this degree of Gemini, because I think it illustrates this energy, this feeling, this vision very well. The symbol for the Sabian symbol is a glass-bottom boat drifts over undersea wonders. So it's this, oh wow, look at all that amazing sea life. What's going on beneath the boat? It's like a whole new world out there. And the great pioneer astrologer Dane Rudyard elaborates on the Sabian symbol, saying that this degree is about the depth of realization in a consciousness constantly in touch with the sources of life. There is a sensitivity to the collective, to the deep, the mystical, the metaphorical. Now this full moon is squaring to Mars in the first degrees of Pisces. So again, there's this very exciting, idealistic energy, but it also needs to be taken with a grain of salt, because these mutable signs, Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces, Virgo, when there's a lot going on in these mutable signs, the way there is these next few weeks, the energy can feel very scattered. The mutable signs are never resting. They're always changing. Oh, a new adventure here, a new idea here. We can present it this way. We can teach it this way. We're having a conversation about this, but what about this? And what about this? And what about this? And so there's this need for constant consistency. It's like, yes, we are moving forward, but let's remain consistent and let's simplify. Let's figure out what is consistent versus what is not totally figured out and scattered. And what is consistent, we can find some rest in. We can find some, structure in. Whereas what's inconsistent or what's new or what's possibly changing, we can see like an experiment, and we can be the mad scientist who's mixing and matching chemicals. We'll see if this changes this color, we'll see if this reaction happens, but we'll take it, with that detachment. So that's kind of the recommendation. Have that healthy detachment. We're not getting overly wrapped up in these new adventures because they are just beginning. They're fresh, and where exactly we'll end up going is a part of this adventure. But there is this consistency of checking in and self-reflection, and what is the bigger picture? Where is life leading me now? And here's where there can be some amazing breakthroughs, realizations, eureka moments. On Tuesday, November 27th, there will be a Mercury retrograde with its inferior conjunction to the Sun. So Mercury's passing the Sun at its closest point to the Earth, and Jupiter's joined in there as well. Well, the inferior conjunction to the Sun is a new Mercury cycle. And Mercury is all about our conceptual understanding of life. Mercury is all about the left brain, how we're planning, how we're communicating. It is about taking the bits and pieces of information and dissecting them, labeling them, dividing them into comprehensible bits and pieces of information so we can conceptualize the bigger picture. Well, this full moon in Gemini is ruled by this Mercury retrograde. And on the flip side, the sun in Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. And Jupiter's the right brain, the bigger picture perspective, the topographical map that allows us to see everything in a singular image, that takes all those bits and pieces of Gemini information and allows them to be brought together. So on the 27th and around these weeks, there's this period of really like bridging the hemispheres of our brains, tuning into that intuitive bigger picture and making it conceptually practical. How can we communicate this? This is my truth. This is my adventure. How am I sharing this? Where is this learning, teaching, leading into this inner adventure of discovering our own truth, if that makes sense? This Gemini-Sag polarity can get pretty damn political. Arguments, disputes, the right way to do things versus the wrong way to do things. So again, that healthy detachment, the need to find out what's working and what's constant and where we all agree versus little bits and pieces that aren't working out that we can take with a grain of salt and is going to continue to be a part of the exploration, is a really highly developmental time. I mean, this is a time where we can find our truth, we can find what we're teaching, we can discover new teachers that are allowing for these great breakthroughs that are giving us a sense of connection to the bigger picture, that is allowing us to embrace our unique and individual God-given gifts, talents, and traits, but finding out, hey, this is what really makes me feel good about my life and what I've experienced and the gifts that I've discovered in myself, because there is a bigger picture to this. There is meaning to this. Jupiter and Sag is all about meaning. It's this significance. And this meaning and significance can fill us up. It can fill those boat sails. It can give us this sense of vastness and life is an adventure. And you know what? Even if it leads us somewhere we don't expect to go, or even if it's not all totally crystallized right now, that's okay. Because this mystical unfolding of life is actually what makes life so enjoyable. And it's like relishable. It's tasty. So in this regard, we can really get into this mystical side of life. And Neptune, the great mystical planet of inner vision, connection to the collective, as well as potential confusion, is also about to station direct. Neptune is stationing direct, basically at the same time as this full moon, the next day at 13 degrees Pisces. So again, this is really about like charting out the territory, but it's just incubating. It's not totally set yet. It can be, confusing. Neptune direct can sometimes turn on the universal fog machine. There can be this rose-tinted glasses types of nature with our visions, where things are taking us forward. So we just need to embrace that, because if we can embrace that, the positive here is that this can be the inner mystic. The inner mystic sees things through those strange and mysterious symbols that, it's like when we have a spiritual experience, it's not easy to put into words. This is not necessarily a time where putting things into words, everything being crystallized in that rational left brain way. It's about rebooting and rebirthing the left brain. It's like when there's a computer issue, for example. A lot of times rebooting the computer is the best thing we can do. It's like we're rebooting the computer right now. Oop, got some spikes going into my head there. And so it's just like, let this inner vision guide us. Oh man, whatever. Allow the language to be reinvented. What is the symbol system? How are we doing this talking? So again, we can take things with a grain of salt, but this inner vision, this inner romance, being led by our heart, to do this inner self-reflection can really about finding our attunement to God, finding our attunement to the bigger picture, and finding that connection to something that is bigger than ourself. So again, Mercury, Sun, Jupiter conjoined, new Mercury cycle. This is about pure potential. I think that's the best way to summarize all of the long-windedness that just came out of my mouth. It's about pure potential. It's raw, unadulterated potential. And all we're doing is holding space and embracing that potential. We're not forcing it anywhere yet. We're not making it into something yet. We're embracing that feeling, that adventure, that vastness will continue to open doors for us. Go in whatever doors are open and available to you. Taste every plate on the all-you-can-eat buffet, so to develop that sense of taste of what's most fulfilling and exciting to you as an individual. And that can very much lead forward into these new directions that can continue to unfold throughout the coming year. Jupiter in Sagittarius is the higher mind, inner fire, intuitive impulse. We're tuning into the intuitive impulse. That impulse is leading us, even if it is leading us in this more so metaphysical or metaphorical way at this time. It can continue to unfold more structurally, more conceptually as we break in this new cycle. And this new cycle is about realizing a fundamentally new way of being. It's about freedom from past limiting mental constructs. Who you have to be, what's right, what's wrong, what's a good girl, what's a bad girl, morality. We've all had social constructs and conditionings that gets in the way of what's authentically true, right, or beneficial to the greater whole. For example, we've all been taught, hey, you have to be successful, you have to be ambitious. Sometimes that goes against the grain of what's beneficial to the bigger whole, or what's most useful to our own health and body, so on and so forth. So we have to include the whole. We have to look at every perspective, and that's where this reinventing and rebirthing is taking place. Sun enters Sagittarius tomorrow, November 22nd, through the winter solstice, December 21st. The Sun will square Neptune Wednesday, December 5th, and then conjoin, and then Mars will conjoin Neptune Friday, December 7th. So again, this loosening, this opening is taking place. It's a very ideal driven time. And there is this increased sensitivity very much during this time as well. Honor your sensitivity. Honor the pace, the rate that's right for you. With Mars in Pisces, now through the end of December, we need to honor our own energy and our own sensitivity. Mars in Pisces is more sensitive. Mars in Pisces is more open and vulnerable to being sick. Make sure you don't spread yourself too thin. Again, keep consistent with what's meaningful to you, but don't scatter your energy too much. And so we do have to respect these boundaries. We can't overly sacrifice ourselves to what's going on the outside, because we will lose those healthy boundaries, and the negative opinions, expectations, or too much work, too much drive, too much pressure gets in, and it affects us. So the recommendation generally is to slow down, respect your sensitivity, be guided by that inner visionary process, and allow it to lead us from the inside out these weeks moving forward. But I would say you don't necessarily have to sign any 30-year contracts or put all your eggs in one basket at this particular time. Allow that inner guidance to lead you into what will feel the most open, the most fulfilling, because that likely is what will bring us into alignment with our higher self and our heart, our inner child. So I hope that all came through. I think that my camera did record all of this, so that's amazing. Let me double check. Oh, that's such a relief. I think we actually have a video rather than me just talking to myself in the woods, so that's always a great feeling. And I do want to make a quick announcement. I want to give a shout out to my Patreon followers. I just want to thank you so much for your support. This Patreon group is giving me extra boost and momentum to continue to focus on astrology, but also to continue to focus on my own creative endeavors, which are going to be coming soon. We got podcasts. I'm working with people that are involved in a diversity of different healing modalities, so we're going to get into more than just astrology. But again, I want to acknowledge that being sick and spread so thin these last couple weeks, I haven't kept up with the amount that I'd like to put out into the Patreon community. So I just want to acknowledge that it is my responsibility, so I apologize for that. And I'm hoping to get on my feet and to give more back to that Patreon community. But thank you so much again for your support, and I look forward to continue to connect with you like minds. Thanks to all of you for tuning into this video, and I'm absolutely wishing all the best for you as we initiate these new exciting adventures and we break in the new year of 2019 to come.